Talk of the Town is up and running in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, USA. I'm Scott Montesano, and this is where the Chippewa Valley comes to talk. It is going to be a raw holiday weekend. To those out there celebrating Passover, may it be a very enjoyable next few days. And for those celebrating Easter, may it be an enjoyable next few days. But it is going to be a raw Easter weekend, holiday weekend. And this is one of those weekends, Easter, especially when you get it, unless you get it really early, the really early Easter, which could be as early as a couple of weeks before now. But when you get Easter in April, whether it is the first weekend, the second weekend, or whatnot, it's not that you are demanding temperatures in the 60s or so, but you're hoping for at least sun and temperatures anywhere from maybe 45 on the low end into maybe 60. That's all you're asking for. Can I be in that window? And we are going to have just cold, raw weather the next few days. But you live with it. The fish fry will go down even better on Friday. And when it is cold and raw, allows you even more opportunity to stay home and color those Easter eggs and do other family activities. Quickly, we're not going to spend a lot of the show on this, but I did want to point something out. So we're doing the show on Thursday. A number of you are watching live on YouTube, or you're watching the recording on YouTube. But we're doing it on Thursday. And, of course, going into this week, into today, there was a lot made about a potential ice storm. And we're not going to bag on the meteorologists. They pretty much got it right. When you're talking about an ice storm, you are talking about threading a needle, because a change of just a couple of temperatures, a couple of degrees, can change everything when it comes to an ice storm. So people planned ahead and all of that. And a lot of the schools are off this week. It's already spring break. A few other things postponed, especially up in Chippewa County, where you've got more people on rural roads. But in Eau Claire, the roads were good all day. The sidewalks were pretty much good all day. If you look at trees, absolutely you could see that things have frozen. And be careful overnight into tomorrow morning, because you might get another refreeze of stuff. But this is not anything that should keep people from going anywhere they need to go. Yet the Ellie Phillips Library delayed opening until noon today because of the weather. And I want to bag on the library a little bit, because you see this a lot where they close down early over threats of weather. They close down when it's snowy, and not they close down at threats of storms. They close down when it's just a few inches of snow. And the people at the library need to start to understand that they have to have a higher bar for postponing and closing. They need to stay open a lot easier. This was not something that they should have been delaying their opening for today. There are a lot of people that rely on the library. Now, I'm not somebody that goes to the library a lot, and nor was I impacted today by them not being open early, but they are not a private entity, and they're also not the schools that have to make calls early because people need to plan daycare. And even that's up for debate. The library should not have been making a call on Wednesday night that they weren't going to be open until noon on Thursday because of the potential of the ice storm. They could have made the call early in the morning before they open. They open at about 9. You've got paid people, by the way. They close way too early. way too early at the library. Way too easily do they close or delay. And I do think somebody's got to start to have a little word with the people at the library. They could say, well, we've got people that travel in from out, or we got this, or we got that. Most businesses have that going on. People don't, this isn't the 1800s. People don't live 3-4 blocks away from where their place of work is, and they're going to walk there. Every business has to deal with that. Oh, well, we don't want people to drive. We're thinking of the people. Bullshit. Bullshit. I'll say that. You're not thinking of the people. So bad job by the L.E. Phillips Library with the weather as it was today, making the call so early that they weren't going to operate. I will give you a great example of a business that did open up today. The Boys and Girls Club in Eau Claire. Now, the one in Chippewa Falls did not because there was a little bit more icing up there and the roads aren't as well tended because you have more rural roads. It's not because people aren't trying in Chippewa County. You have more rural roads in Chippewa County, and people come from outside of a quote-unquote urban center of Chippewa Falls. In Eau Claire, the roads were fine. Roads were perfectly fine when people woke up. So the Boys and Girls Club yesterday, because we were going to record a podcast with them today, let me know yesterday there's a chance we're going to postpone. There's a chance we're not going to open tomorrow because school is out. They've got kids and all that. They made the decision this morning that they could go. They waited. So I say that again to the library as a public entity. And at a time when more of these public entities are getting more scrutiny with the budget and all of that, library a little bit different than, say, Hobbs, but you get the idea. A little bit more effort by the library today would have been nice. A little bit more effort to be open on time. All right. Great podcast dropped today. We're going to get to that in a moment. Our Beyond the Stage with the Pablo. And I want to get to some things that were talked about on that show in a moment. But before that, Tuesday, big day in the Chippewa Valley. A lot of intriguing local races. So make plans to vote. Vote early, vote often, as the old joke is. But make sure you do get out and vote on Tuesday. It's so easy not to vote in local elections, but there's some meat to the bone this year. And we haven't even touched in Eau Claire, the school board race, we talked about last week. There's really no juice to that, even though there's going to be an incumbent just because of the numbers, an incumbent that won't keep a spot. But you still have a lot of very juicy races in the area. And maybe the school board race is really impactful to you. And to some of the areas around Eau Claire, they're individual races that may be very much that they've been top of your mind. But in the area, I think there's three races to really keep an eye on. In Menominee, you've got a contested mayoral election, which is not always the case when you have somebody like Randy Kanak, who's been in his position for a decade and a half. But he is facing a significant challenge from Matt Crow. And this isn't just because of the data center that popped up last summer and that debate. There's been people that have been aiming for Randy Kanak, a segment of the population in Menominee that has wanted to move him out for a while. And we'll get to it in a moment. It's not because there's a lot that you can really point at with Randy and say he's directing the city off a cliff. He's not piloting the Titanic into an iceberg by no stretch of the imagination. In fact, you can't argue that Menominee has operated well with Randy. But some feel change is necessary to accelerate the growth that's going on, and also to just fight complacency. They feel Randy is tied into the old guard. There are people that, let's be honest, too, they go, hey, things are going good, but if the challenger wins, I'm maybe more tied into the challenger, and he maybe speaks more to me. Randy speaks more to another group of people. Some of it's age related, some of it is strictly politically related, but this is a race that hasn't necessarily had an R and a D feel to it. It's just a matter of, do you want to keep going? The way you're doing things right now is working in Menominee, or do you want to take a swing and see if a change will bring about even more growth? You do want to fight the urge of change for the sake of change. Now, sometimes you do need change, and sometimes you do need to change for the sake of change, if that makes sense. You want to get out in front of something, but there's always the risk involved that if you change. So, the pros for bringing Randy Knack back in Menominee: one, he's been in that position for a long time. There are a lot of people that like him. He knows how to, and I say this, let me finish the whole thought, play the game. And not necessarily play it in a political way, though there is a part of that. But think of how he operated with the data center. He listened to the community. Community didn't want the data center, so that became his feel for it. Yes, there are times that politicians, because they should do more homework than you and I, we've hired them by voting for them. We have hired them to do all the research for us because you and I don't want to do it. They are the contractors of the positions. They're not the monarchs. They are the contractors of the positions. And there's times in which, hey, they should know better than us. But you also need to understand there are times in which you need to go along with the people that are your bosses. No different than a contractor. A contractor may say this type of material would be better than this type of material, but if the client absolutely wants a certain thing, all right, I'm going to give them what they want. And that's what Randy did there, and there's been a lot of other examples of that in which he listens to what the constituents want and goes along with that. He knows how to play that game. Over years, you develop that. Over time, you're able to, one, have the confidence that you can do it because you've been in a position for a while, and two, you're able to read the waves and do it when it's necessary. At the same time, he's been in the position for a long enough time that he is able to, quote-unquote, play the political game a little bit. He knows how it works. How do you talk to individuals? He is a salesman in his regular job. He is a salesman. So he's able to go and talk to people, talk to other communities, talk to other business people, talk to prospective individuals coming into the area, all of that. That is stuff that is gleaned over time. That no matter what you may think of the challenger Matt Crow, and no matter what future benefits Matt Crow may bring, and he may, if he ends up winning, he could ultimately be better than Randy. That could happen. He could also be worse. But Matt Crow, it will take, no matter how good, brilliant, anything he is, there is no replacement actual experience. So it will take him roughly a year to get to some semblance of the nuance that somebody with the experience that Randy has will have. What's the joke, people? It's not even a joke, it's true. All these Congress people that will run for office, and be careful of it, I'm not necessarily siding with Derek Van Orden on this, but whether it's whoever the challenger is out of the Democratic side, all right, whether it's Cook or Berge, they're going to say, I'm going to go in and change things. And the joke is it takes you probably 6 months before you figure out the best route to the bathroom. There are logistical things that occur. I'm going to go in and change everything. But you still don't even know the best way to get to the potty. And the same thing happens when you make a change. So the pro with Randy is, yes, he knows how to do it. Matt Crow may end up being better, but it's going to take him time to learn how to do it. Now, the cons for Randy, if you're going to vote for Randy Connect, the cons, he has been there over 10 years. It's a positive, but it also is correct to look at it as a negative. Do we need a fresh set of eyes on things? Do we need a fresh set of eyes? Menominee has seen growth, but what do we want Menominee to be? Menominee is at a fulcrum moment. There's been all of this growth in Eau Claire, and Eau Claire has become a small city. It's no longer a large town with a city feel. No. Eau Claire is growing, and Eau Claire's bursting through a paper wall. It will likely hit 90,000 people at some point, maybe even 100,000 if this momentum continues in the city. Menominee, meanwhile, it's kind of interesting. You've got the university there, but it's not as great of a relationship between the university and the townies as it is in, say, Eau Claire. Not that it's acrimonious between leaders, it doesn't feel connected. Menominee as a whole, does it want to be a satellite community of the Twin Cities, which it can be? Does it want to be more with the Chippewa Valley and partner up with Chippewa Falls and Eau Claire? Does it want to grow itself? There is likely a pathway where Menominee could be twice the size that it is. Is that something people want? And is it time now to have a new vision for what that would be? So, big mayoral race in Menominee. And again, I'm just talking from generalities there. Some people have got actual reasons. I can't vote for Randy because of this particular decision he made 3 years ago. Or I can't vote for Matt Crow because Matt Crow XYZ. Or I'm supporting Randy because Randy's been XYZ. Or I'm supporting Matt Crow because of XYZ. Matt Crow, by the way, works for, I think it's a nonprofit. I think it's an environmental nonprofit. And that's another thing we do to the people out there that are thinking of running. And we've got a lot of it in Eau Claire, where people work for nonprofits and then end up running for office. And now, not all nonprofits are the same, especially local nonprofits. There's a lot of elements of working in business to that and all that. But a number of these people work for nonprofits remotely that are in public office. For nonprofits that have got their offices either in another part of the state or usually another part of the country, and they're not dealing with having to raise funds, they're not dealing with having to interact with people face-to-face regularly. When you say somebody's got business experience, because of the current operator of the executive branch of the White House, people now have started to have a negative connotation to business experience. But what business experience is it's more so, how do you, and this is going to sound bad, but make a deal. How do you get the sale? You've got to convince people to follow in your path. And how do you sort of do the dance a little bit? And a lot of people that work remotely, especially for these nonprofits, they live in not a bad thing, they're usually doing great work. Good reason why there's a good reason that nonprofit exists. But they are in very much an straight advocacy position. They are, hey, I work for Save the Wombats. My whole singular focus is on preserving the wombat. I don't have customers. I don't have clients. I am here about preserving the wombat. And some of their experience is talking to other legislators and all of that. I get it. But it's not the same, especially when you're dealing with local politics. Local politics is very micro. It is very, very micro. It's not about necessarily ideologies. It's about filling a pothole. It's about basic logistics. Now, we go to the Eau Claire City Council presidency race. Scott Rogers versus Jeremy Greger. There'll be a new person in charge. It's going to be interesting. In just the business community, I'd say Rogers wins by a landslide. I haven't found one person that supports Jeremy Greger openly. But also, many of these business people can't vote. They don't live in Eau Claire, or they won't vote, because that also, there's still not going to be a huge turnout on Tuesday. Jeremy has run a very solid local campaign. Lots of signage, good amount of money behind him. He's got name recognition. He, too, is known, arguably more than Scott Rogers. I feel Jeremy's base is much stronger. And there is undoubtedly, you are going to have some people that will vote because Jeremy's a Democrat, and they are going to want to support a Democrat. Eau Claire, the whole thought of Eau Claire is this wildly liberal city is completely, it's an outdated thought. We've talked about it before. More and more college students are independent, if not conservative. Still, more are Democrat, but that's waning a little bit. And also, more people are voting what their gut says. They're not necessarily voting straight down a party path. If you were to ask me a week and a half ago who did I think was going to win, I would say Scott Rogers. Now, I've said here I want Scott Rogers to win. My gut feeling, it's Jeremy Greger that's going to win. Because Greger has run a very solid campaign. When you are doing local politics and you're running locally, Rogers did very well at that forum last week. Did very, very well. Greger did not screw up. That was his biggest accomplishment. He didn't screw up there. He didn't do anything to hurt his cause. But you see more signage for Greger out there. You see a lot more signage. He's showing up on my Facebook feed a lot. The algorithm is pumping it to my Facebook feed and to my Instagram feed. So he's done a better job of advertising. I'm gonna. This is an aside for local candidates, and also for small businesses out there. If you complain that nobody knows about you, it is your fault, because you want to know why I'm going to say that? Buying a billboard in this town, one billboard on a busy street in this area, is less than $1,000. If you believe strongly in what you're doing as a business owner or as a local politician, and you cannot invest $900, it's on you. You buy one billboard, trust me, I've seen it myself with this business. It's tremendous. Best form of advertising is billboards. Best form of advertising in this area. There's a reason you're seeing more people in the area buy billboards. Then the other race that you're keeping an eye on, the other vote you're keeping an eye on in the area, is the Altoona school referendum. It's expected to pass, but fingers crossed over there. It's a simple, mechanics referendum. There's nothing sexy to it. They're not looking to add on to a school. They're not looking to re-turf the football field, reupholster the seats in the auditorium, nothing like that. It's no longer about living within your means at these schools. We've talked about it before. Same thing with cities as well, though it's back and forth. Uh, One thing that cannot be argued is that state money back to schools and to cities has not kept up with the Joneses. It just hasn't. Now, in some cases, schools or municipalities, in the case of Eau Claire, made some bad decisions a few years ago that they're now paying for now. But it's not always just the people in charge screwed up or anything like that. There is a little bit of a dance that's involved. Now, when you see all these school referendums that are coming out, folks, even if you are, and I was like this like you, when you started to see a lot of these referendums 2-3 years ago, you started to say, hey, spend within your means. But now, once you keep seeing more and more, and it's an avalanche of them, the problem isn't the schools. They've cut as much. They've cut stuff, and it's not as simple for these schools. As we said before, you let go a couple people making $50,000 a year. That's not going to fix hundreds of thousands of dollars of repairs. Things break down, everybody. No matter how well you take care of your car, eventually the car needs to go and get fixed. When you go and they say you need to get a new flubber nutter for your car, do you blame the mechanic? No. Again, and by the way, if you don't trust your mechanic, that's on you. Well, probably doesn't need a new flubber nutter. That's on you that you went to somebody you don't trust. So a couple big races on Tuesday. We'll talk more about them next Thursday because by then we will know who has won from Tuesday. Anything else I wanted to get to today? Nope. I know more people want to talk about. I got it. There's a couple. There's a letter I got. There's been some hullabaloo going on with athletics at a local school. People are going something about coaches or whatever. Maybe I'll follow up on that. Of course, Nadia Horn. A little bit of national coverage to that now because it is a salacious story. All right. 22-year-old, fairly attractive young woman doing things with teenagers. It's a salacious story. It's a salacious story. It's going to get covered nationally. It absolutely is going to get covered nationally. Not surprised at all about that. As we said before, the only thing right now for you and I to be keeping an eye on for that was, did somebody miss red flags on it? Otherwise, it seems as though the mechanisms in place to root this out quickly worked. All right? Your number one goal is this never would have happened. Number two goal is, if it happens, it's snuffed out quick. And number two appears to have occurred with that. I never got to it today because we were talking about the races. But support live entertainment in the area. The Pablo Center, great episode of Beyond the Stage with the Pablo, dropped earlier today. And they're talking supporting live music. And I recommend to all of you, get out and support live entertainment. Get out and support live entertainment. Whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's plays or whatever, get out and support live entertainment. I'm going to be going to see Soul Asylum on Saturday night. I'm looking forward to that. I am not a big Soul Asylum fan. I know one song of theirs, but I'm intrigued to go. Should be fun. People on their social media feeds don't post experiences. You don't see a lot of people posting fun things anymore. You want to know why? Because too many people are living miserable lives. Sorry, take a moment, step back, and realize that. All they do is they bitch and complain about something. I saw somebody complain about the dugouts, the new gorgeous dugouts that are at Carson Park. Complained about those. Stop your bitching. Go out and do something. Enjoy something. Take pictures. Post those. Going out has its risks. You might not have a good time trying something, but even the bad times are usually good. And, get out there, see people. Go out and see music. There's all these comedy shows that are at the Plus. Go see one of those. Go see a movie. At minimum, get out and walk around. But you know what? The getting out and walking around, at one point, still go and do something. So it was a great episode of Beyond the Stage. They explained what they love to do and the joy that you just cannot recreate staying home. Get out and do something. So easy to stay home and bitch about things. Get out and do something. All right. That'll do it for today's edition of the podcast. Back with you next week. On behalf of everyone who made this podcast possible, I'm Scott Montesano saying there's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. Make sure to take advantage of it. And until next time, so long, everybody.